Stone County Extension saves the world.
No!
I don't know if we recorded any of that.
Welcome, everybody, to Stone County Extension Saves the World podcast. This is our second episode.
We did not get fired.
It's a great day.
It's a good day. So, what are we talking about this week?
So, a few things I was going to talk about is canning for convenience. And then I think you wanted to talk about the screwworm.
The screwworm, it's a big deal. I think they found it recently, like 70 miles from the border.
So is it like a bot fly?
It's a bot fly, and so what it does is like it'll lay eggs around like the eyes and nose or an open wound, and the little maggot like burrows its way in about 1 to 2 inches into the skin of an animal. It looks pretty gross. It stinks.
Oh.
But one of my clients, we were talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I heard that you have to castrate them things."
You do what now?
You got to castrate them. He got sterilization and castration mixed up, and he's like, "Yeah, you got to castrate all them flies." Is what I heard. They got a lab down there, and they're castrating all these flies. And
what kind of bander did you
I don't know
for that?
I was reading about like how they do it, and they do like 100 million flies like a day.
Yeah, you wouldn't be castrating 100 million.
Can you
a day.
imagine the guys? I guess that's how you identify them. They got the big old, and it's like, there's the males. And so trap a bunch of them, and them guys are just working all day. Castrating.
Okay, so it's actually sterilization.
It's sterilization. Like with radiation, they sterilize. They're building a new facility down at the border in like Mission, Texas. I think the USDA has like provided funding to build it.
Well, what does the sterilization do?
Well, it like makes the male flies where they're not, able to have little babies, and they'll breed one time, like the female and the male. She'll breed, and they'll breed one time, and then she'll go and lay eggs. And if the male's sterilized, those eggs aren't,
So
fertile.
she doesn't mate again.
She don't mate again.
One and done.
She
Okay.
one and done and dies.
So they're trying to just
But
destroy the population.
Yeah, can you imagine having to castrate all those? If that's how you had to do it, like, all right, here he is.
I don't think I fully understand fly anatomy to really give
I don't
an
either.
accurate.
I don't even think they have testicles.
Well, yeah, that'd be required for castration. Well, so what all animals? Is it cows or does it go beyond cattle?
It goes beyond cattle. But why it's a big deal is because it'll destroy the cattle market. Like those flies get in there. That's why they're so worried about it. Probably why prices are kind of.
So it's deeper than skin.
Yeah, it like destroys the hide. Like they burrow and I'll put up a picture of what it looks like. It's gross.
If we get to gagging about maggots, it'll be
maggots
a
are gross.
rough episode.
I gag pretty easy anyway.
Yes.
But like $100 billion, I think, is what I seen.
Wow.
Is what it could affect, and so they're worried about it. But how they did it originally, they like wiped them out doing these sterilization processes. They call it SIT is that abbreviation, sterilize something technique. But anyway. You mentioned it can get in dogs. It can actually get in humans. It can get in, like, essentially any warm-blooded animal, critter, it can
Really?
affect. And so cattle are livestock producers. They need to, if it shows up in the U.S., there are treatments, like pesticide treatments you can use. I think organophosphates, I think pyrethrins, is what the USDA is recommending for them, but they're worried about it.
It says we have an extension article from January by Mary Hightower, and it says nightmarish stuff of nightmares. The thought. Have you ever watched a video of someone pulling out a bot fly? Just the thought of that just makes me sick.
Yeah.
And to think that could potentially be on my animals. that's pretty worrisome.
Yeah. So if they get a little wound in them, like if this fly shows up, if they get a little wound in them, and it'll probably, start in Texas because they've come up from South America, finding them in Mexico. I think I mentioned like 70 miles from the border, late September. So it's a possibility that it'll cross, it can attach to a bird and fly. That thing flies over here and the larva hatches. And then, they lay eggs around the little wound, and then the larva hatches and goes into the wound, and they feed for like 2 or so days, and then they come out like 7 or so days later, and then they fall to the ground and they pupate and turn to a little fly, and then they go do their thing, and the females go lay more eggs, and that's why the sterilization process kind of works and how they eradicate them. So
that's cool.
It is cool, but it's also scary.
That is scary. Cattle prices are high, but the thought of losing herds is upsetting. So
that's a New World screwworm.
Wow. Speaking of maggots, we're going to talk about canning, trying to avoid the creepy crawlies.
Can maggots get into your reserve food?
Well, I would think if you preserved it properly, you wouldn't have to worry about maggots. If you're freezing, you're blanching, and if you're canning, of course, your water bath or pressure canning and following the proper methods, you'll be safe that way. From maggots, for sure. Maggots are not one of my favorite things. You just keep thinking about them. I just keep thinking about they get in my head. So canning for convenience is what I was wanting to bring up. And sometimes when we think of canning, we think a lot of effort, and we're not sure what all we're going to get out of it. But if it's just you and your household, canning can be very beneficial, because if you're making a big pot of soup, you could can a pot of soup into quart jars or pint jars for just one person, and that way it's ready all the time. Or if you want to can dry beans and rehydrate them and do pinto beans, that'll save you a lot of time, dinner time. And they're really good. A note on them, so I have some beans today, and we've got Bean Fest coming up, so it really made me think about the beans. The beans. And
what's that rhyme they say about beans?
Something about them being a musical fruit.
Yeah. I've never understood that.
Brandon, I think, got D-Hall for singing that song in the lunchroom as a kid.
No, not Brandon.
Not Brandon.
He wouldn't get in trouble.
No. Star student. He really was, though. But anyway, enough about him. So, beans, if you're canning beans from the dry form, it's very important to rehydrate them properly. You're never going to be dry canning's not a thing. So you're not dry canning beans, peas, anything like that.
So you got to cook them first.
So they can either soak overnight, and then you're going to be cooking them for 30 minutes, or you can cook them for at least an hour. You have to just follow the proper procedures from the National Center for Home Food Preservation. And I have a So Easy to Preserve book out of the University of Georgia Extension, and they kind of call that the canning Bible because it's got the most information. And I can't help but like paper form, but online is kept up to date also. So when I rehydrate beans, I'll put them in the fridge, cover them with water after sorting them, because you find rocks and all kinds of other interesting things in your dry beans.
Eat a rock. Chip a tooth.
Yeah, chip a tooth. So you make sure you sort them really well, and then you're going to soak them overnight, and then you're going to boil them for 30 minutes. And one thing I learned following the recipe is we're going to go to the 1-inch head space. And so I have my
head space important?
Yes, for safety, that's going to be one of your most important factors. So your food's going to expand and contract. It's got a certain amount of air in it. So head space is important to make sure that all your food is done to the right level and all the oxygen is removed from your jar. So creepy things live in oxygen, and creepy things live without the oxygen environment. So we want at least a 1-inch head space. And so when we're filling our jar after we've rehydrated our beans, we want to not fully go to the 1-inch head space with the beans, because I find that if you go to the 1-inch head space with the beans, they're going to absorb all the liquid, and it's not going to be quite as appealing. So if you go about 3/4 of the way to your 1-inch with beans, and then you make sure you're at the 1-inch head space with the liquid cover, then you should be good to go. Canning your dry beans. If you're a new canner and you're new to pressure canning, it's about the cheapest thing that you can practice with. So I always advise everybody, why don't you practice with with beans. And that could go for rehydrated peas. I've had a few calls on issues with liquid loss. So that's why if you give yourself a little bit of extra liquid in there, you should be good. Now, if you're canning soup for, convenience, it tells you to fill halfway with the solid ingredients and the other half with liquid because of the expansion. So it's a little more clear on how to do vegetable soups. So if you have a garden and you've got a bunch of random things in your freezer throughout the year, so you got random carrots or green beans and this and that, you could can your vegetable soup in the fall and have that ready throughout the winter. And
how long does it stay good for?
Everything's good for a year.
Good for a year?
Good for a year is what you want to shoot for.
You got them people, well, it's been over a year. What should I do? Can I still eat my beans?
Well, it's recommended for a year. So after that, you can't recommend safety, quality. So I would just focus on what you can get done with a year. You can always share the bounty before the year's out if you're going to have more. So I have a chicken soup canning class coming up on November 11th. That'll be the first time teaching that. So we'll get that base.
Can you can like chicken noodle soup with noodles, or could you put rice in it or something?
You can't do rice or noodles. The starch and the pH can't verify the safety on that. But I think it's more versatile if you just keep the soup base. So if you wanted to add the rice later, you could have chicken and rice soup. You could take that same base and have chicken noodle soup. You'd have a little more versatility that way instead of... So it wouldn't be safe with the rice or noodles, and then it's also not as versatile. So you could add that later easily when you're heating it back up.
So there's canning practices that you shouldn't do, like canning butter.
Canning butter. Oh. So canning dairy is never recommended, and I was looking more into that.
How do you preserve dairy?
Well, I would think yogurt, cheese, that was really the thought process with that. And who doesn't love cheese? But I was looking for more information on canning milk because I saw a Facebook post of this clabbered, terrible looking canned milk, which is never safe to do. And I understand people want to know why it's unsafe. Like, are you just telling me that?
Yeah. And you're with the government. You're trying to control them.
Yes. And that's not ever been the case with the Extension Service. We are from the government. We're trying to pass through research-based information, not hopes, dreams, guesses. We're trying to make everybody safer and more self-sustainable. So that's a little frustrating because we're trying to help you
we're
be
providing
more
research-based information. That's what a lot of times that aggravate me is when guys will ask a question, like you'll tell them the recommendation, like for planting or something, and they'll be like, well, old so-and-so said you could do it this way, and it's just like,
maybe you can't. Go ahead.
Maybe you can. Whatever, man.
But we can't recommend that that's going to work.
Yeah. And
so we can't recommend that canning dairy is going to be safe. And so I read something interesting today out of North Carolina Extension that I've not read before. And so it should kind of drive that home if you're kind of on the fence on if you want to follow the safe practice or not. And so Clostridium botulinum or botulism, you hear that word, it lives in a no oxygen environment. So that's why canning is such a big deal. So it says that it is not recommended for canning home dairy because they're low acid and the fat they contain can insulate and protect spores from a foodborne illness causing bacteria associated with home canning, which is Clostridium botulinum. So it can protect those spores, and those spores can go back into the bacterial stage and create that toxin that kills people with botulism.
And then you eat it and you're dead?
So I would focus on if you have a dairy cow, or, I wouldn't buy dairy just from the store to can it, of course, but I would focus on other means of preservation safely. So yogurt, different cheeses, which, like we said, who doesn't love cheese?
Make some cheese.
So that's one of my, when I grow up, I'd like to learn how to make cheese.
Learn how to make cheese?
Besides mozzarella, which I can do that.
In all of my fantasies about living off grid, I'm like, I don't want to milk a cow or a goat. I'll just trade my milk.
Trade for it. Yeah, and I think people, when you have that extra, if you're trying to go more off-grid, the barter system was what was used back then. So you could focus on, if I've got extra eggs or I have extra dairy, maybe I need to just barter with my neighbor to get another commodity.
Yeah, and we train kids how to barter. We play a little game called Wagon Masters.
They love that game. It's our generation raised on the Oregon Trail game on the computer, so it really speaks to me.
I never made it
I did
to
one
Oregon.
time. One time was it in all those years.
I never did. I wish I could play it again. Yeah.
I don't even know what we did. I think I just clicked buttons.
That's what I did. I didn't understand how to keep people from dying, and all I like to do was just hunt the little critters, the little animals.
You weren't worried about getting to Oregon.
Like I'd kill them all, and
it's
like,
no, you starved.
You can only carry so much meat.
Oh, and you wasted all of it.
Yeah, so wasted all the meat from.
That reminds me of what happened to the American bison.
I thought that's what the game. Yeah, just poor bison.
They're really cool
hide
creatures.
Hunters, they took them out.
They're really entertaining if you've ever been out west or in.
Yeah, if you're out west, Yellowstone, I'm pretty sure in that.
Well, there are other places.
You pet them?
No, you do not. There's a huge fine for petting them, I believe. And of course, they can flip you.
And they can flip you.
Now, we have bison locally in Stone County, so you've got to experience working them through banks.
We've got a guy, he raises bison.
He sells the meat,
too. Yeah, he sells the meat, full-blooded bison. They
American.
don't have any beef in them, but we'd go down there to do the brucellosis vaccinations, and it was entertaining.
Intense?
Oh, it was intense. Like, I was like, these guys need a reality show, because they're yelling at each other. And
well, I know how it is working cows. I can imagine bison.
Yeah, and it ain't like in cows, you have to line them up in the chute and give it a shot in the hay gates, let it out. How they do the bison is that bring them in one at a time, and you got to get way back, and they run them, and they start running. And they've got like a crash gate because they don't stop, and they have to hit that, and then you shut the head gate on them, and it's interesting, it's fun. But like we can run through and do like 50 in like 30 minutes. We did like 6, and it took an hour.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be a tough day working through
50 cows. We can run through like 50 heifers pretty quickly, but on the bison, it's like we had to. 6 of them, it took like an hour to do.
Wow.
Well, speaking of getting flipped by a bison, I mentioned petting them. I was joking, but one time at a rodeo, what do they call it? The big boy calf scramble is what we used to call it. And it was over here at the Stone County Fairgrounds. They were doing like they had the bull where they put the bandana on the bull, turn him out, and like if you get the bandana off, you get $100.
I know a few of the other people involved in this one too.
Brandon, and like they
weren't your cousins too.
My cousins, I think.
Yeah.
And so they turn it out, and I was like, I'd worked calves and dealt with them, and they're easy to handle when they're like in a chute. You can kind of push on them, and this guy, he wasn't that big or scary, but he had horns.
How much do you think he weighed about?
Probably like 900 pounds, maybe.
Surely not that big.
Gosh. He is able to flip me. So
did you get the bandana?
So what happened, we would run out and like we're watching him, and he's like chasing people around, and I remember Brandon, he got real close. Like he reached out his hand and like tried to grab it and just missed him. Well, then I kind of stood there and I was thinking, all right, what I'll do is when he comes over here, I'll just grab him by the horns. I thought, real strong. I'll just grab him by the horns and hold him there and take that bandana off. So I'm standing there not worrying about dodging, and I'm younger, pretty flexible. I can do flips and stuff. So I was like, if all else fails, surely I won't get hurt. But here he comes, and he just flipped me over his back, and like I flipped over and landed on his back like this, and it was like slow motion.
Like, was your head towards his rear end?
My head was towards his head. Like I'm standing up, and he just flips me.
Like you're like back to back?
Yeah, we're back to back, and I'm like laying on his back. His head's like right here, and like it's slow motion. Oh. His head is like right here, and so I like just look back and see the bandana and grab it and fall off, and I won the $100.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so imagine a bison like flipping you. And speaking of, looked up what the SIT is. Sterile insect technique is how they get rid of New World screwworm.
Well, that makes sense.
Sit, yeah.
Sit.
I can't remember. Couldn't remember insect. So getting flipped by the cow, that was probably one of the bull. That was one of the highlights. I peaked right there. So.
Peak physical
shape and peaked $100 in the big boy calf scramble. But dealing with cows, there's a lot of cattle here. Would you say there's more cattle in Stone County than people?
Yeah, probably.
Probably so. And with cattle, what we really want to focus on is beef growers. Is you got to think of yourself as more of a grass farmer than you're growing beef, because we're growing the grass to produce the beef and using the beef to harvest the grass. And I think a lot of guys around here don't think about it that way. They think, I'm a cattle farmer. And where they should put a lot of their focus is into their forages and having a good base forage or a good forage operation, so you're able to gain more weight off providing good quality forages. And it's that time of year where almost to mid-October. You still call it early October at the time of this recording. So it's a little late for planting some cool season annuals for, say, grazing. You typically want to do that here in Arkansas about mid-September. It kind of depends on if you're in the southern part or northern part, but typically mid-September is when you want to get in like your cool season grass, ryegrass, winter wheat, something like that, oats.
Which would have been tough this year. It's been a dry fall.
It's been a dry fall,
most of the state.
But we're starting to get a little rain. So those guys thinking about, well, I want some early spring grazing. You still have time. You could get those cool season grasses in either by broadcast or drilling. You have time. I would probably, or my dad's done it before, like for hay, like planted like cereal rye and others in like November, just to get it out there.
So in November would be about the latest?
I wouldn't go much past November.
Okay.
If, you're wanting to, you might wait till springtime. Typically, we have some good times and good weeks in February, and that's what a lot of this farming is for pastures and dealing with weeds and managing our fertility. It's all about your timing. It's a good time of year. Thistles, cool season weeds, thistles, buttercups, they'll all start germinating here in October, and you could actually go out and make an application and get pretty decent control on some stuff. We still have good days here. It's still pretty warm here in October. Normally with first frost, what do they say, October 20th, but past few years
we've not hit that.
Been in November. Mm-hmm. So you could still have some time to do some cool season weed control here in October, and then February, March. If it's much later than March, those weeds it's probably too late to spray, and you're more just getting a revenge kill. A lot of people will spray buttercups
after they're already yellow.
Yeah, they're yellow
taking over the field.
Taking over the field. They see it, and it's like, well, I need to spray. Well, by then you're too late because they're still going to go to seed, and they're an annual plant, so they'll.
So you could really spray now and help get a good.
You could spray right now and get decent control. I'm not going to say you get 100%. I've done some weed control demonstrations about timing and spraying in October, and it stayed like 85% control the next year into the spring. But you have a few more germinate Marchish, but then you've got your cool season weeds, September, October, maybe into November a little bit. It depends on the weather. But then February, March for cool season weeds. And then your warm season weeds. So typically we want to spray, most guys will spray one time a year. But we've got warm season weeds and cool season weeds. And the warm season's coming out. Warm season's coming out around May-ish, June-ish, and that's when you really want to deal with them, like guys that are dealing with perilla mint.
Okay.
And the goal for weeds is to hit them when they're small, because we can use less chemical and get better control, because it takes less to kill them, and it gets a little bit better kill. A lot of people are waiting too long, so it's all about timing for getting good control of your weeds. And then when applying fertilizer, it's all about timing. Your phosphorus and potassium, that'll somewhat stay in the soil, but if you're adding nitrogen when stuff's not growing, it's just going to turn to a gas, and with what we're using here, what mostly have available is urea, and it's real volatile, can turn to a gas if it doesn't get a rain on it, and you're losing a lot of that. So having proper timing, and I know it's easier said than done because sometimes it just doesn't rain, and you don't want to, that's a bulk of your expense is going to be a fertilizer cost. But
when would be a good time to kind of, or some time frames to consider?
So for fertilizing your cool season stuff, like you can jump start your cool season stuff if we have a good week in February and you're able to get it out before it really starts raining. In February, you've typically got a week where it's like at least 60 or 70 degrees. And you could go out and fertilize then, jumpstart like your tall fescue, or if you've got some of those cool season annuals. Then for like Bermuda grass, that stuff's going to start greening up maybe late April, typically not till May. It's like for Bermuda grass or warm season grasses, it's when your night temperatures get above 60 degrees is when that really starts taking off. So whenever that hits, that's when you'd want to fertilize like your warm season stuff, when you're getting probably a week of night temperatures at least 60 degrees. And
so Bermuda grass, that was the stem maggot was something I've not really heard about before, and that was one of your topics at your forage field day.
Yeah, we did a forage field day as part of our hay verification project we're doing with a producer. And pretty much what it is like I was mentioning in the last episode with that Seaman A. Knapp, where he's doing farm demonstrations and they're listening to him with his recommendations and following what he says to do.
See it.
And then getting to see it work. That's what we're doing with the guy, was where we're trying to take this field that it used to be in Bermuda grass, but over time it's went away,
It's tough in Snow County. Tough. You got to work at it.
Well, what happened to a lot of guys is fertilizer got so high, and used to there was chicken litter. Everybody had chicken houses, and so they were able to spread it. So, and that's what they used as fertilizer, and that's kind of went away. Not as much access to that chicken litter.
At least not on the western end of the county.
Yeah, and so they're having to use this commercial fertilizer, and in hay situations, hay's what a lot of guys don't realize is they're taking away a lot more than they're putting back. So with hay, we want to put back at least what we took out. And typically to produce a ton of forage, it's going to take 40, 50 pounds of nitrogen, about 12 to 15 pounds of phosphorus, and about 40 to 50 pounds of potassium is what it'll pull out to produce a ton. And so if you're taking that away, and then just fertilizing 200 pounds triple 19, that's 40 pounds of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. You're probably over-applying your phosphorus, but not meeting your nitrogen. For nitrogen, they don't test for it when we do soil tests. It's just all based on an estimate to get the best yield. And typically to produce a ton, they're recommending like 50, 60 pounds of nitrogen. You pull that out and not replacing it back, over time your fertility levels drop, and that's where you see like sage grass start creeping in. Here in Stone County, we're typically like a 5.5 on our pH, and so a lot of guys have to add lime. With adding lime, say you do a soil test and it comes back and says you need to do lime. I would always do lime first. I wouldn't even worry about fertilizing because we want to adjust that pH. There's a range where the plants that are growing, they prefer a certain pH, and if we're not at that pH, it kind of essentially binds up nutrients in the soil, and even if those nutrients are available, if the pH is wrong, they can't take it up, and so they're not going to grow as well. And so always fixing your pH first is what I recommend to guys, is if you can, is lime that field. Seeing a few soil tests where they don't have to lime as much here lately. I had a guy, he is asking me, like used to, we'd say like every 4 years you'd want to re-soil test and check your lime, but he limed maybe 12 years ago and his pH is still right there at like a 6, and he's like, what's going on? And talked to the forage specialist at the time, and he said, well, if you can get that and apply the amount of lime that our soil test calls for, you're neutralizing, there's hydrogen ions in the soil, and that's what creates the acidity. And you're applying lime, which is calcium carbonate, and a lot of guys think it's calcium that's changing your pH. There's other stuff out there like liquid calcium that they have these wild claims like, oh, you just spray a little bit of this and it'll fix your pH issues. That's what is it? Snake oils? Yeah, the wizard. Yeah, that's what it is. It's wizardry and false claims, pretty much. They're testimonials. I think at the bottom usually they say like, follow, use this product in accordance with a good fertilizer program, and you'll see results. And it's like, well, no duh. If I'm
adding this with something else, if I'm following what I'm supposed to do.
But it's the calcium carbonate, CaCO3. Is that it? Don't get me to talking chemistry. But
was that your best subject in school?
Not really. But that the oxygen ion attaches to the hydrogen ion and neutralizes it. Well, in the soil, there's like a reserve of the hydrogen ions. And you neutralize some, and then it'll re-release hydrogen ions, and your pH won't change. Well, our soil tests actually, if you need lime, recommend for neutralizing that reserve. And once you neutralize all them, it could be, it could last for a long time. But that's why he recommends if your soil test calls for like 2 ton an acre, put out that 2 ton. You talk to some soil scientists, guys. This was a forage scientist that I was talking to, but soil scientists, I've heard them say that you can do it over a period of a few years. Like this year, if it called for 2 ton, well, we can only afford to do a ton, and then next year we're going to come do another ton, and it'll get it neutralized over time. But that's one thing with forage, guys, is do your soil test, check your pH. If your pH calls for lime, do that as quick as you can. I know it can be expensive. That's why I recommend to guys like choose a pasture. If you got several pastures and it's too expensive to do everything, pick a few. Do one this year, get it right. And then next year, work on another one. And I think that's where we'll start managing our grasses a little bit better. Get rid of some of these sage grass, get more of the grasses that we want to keep.
That sounds like a good plan. If you can't do it all, at least focus on an area.
Focus on some area,
Kind of like a phases.
Yeah, it's better to
do something
than half what would we say? Half donkey it. Don't half donkey it.
Well, and our soil tests are free, and we can do those at any time through our office. And it amazes me, people, how much do I owe you? Yeah, and that's part of what our extension service offers.
Yeah, here in Arkansas, we offer free soil testing, and there are some add-ons, like if you want to know organic matter, I think that's like a $10 test, or if you wanted to test for nitrate, it may be like $10. But otherwise, it's free. Yeah. It's free. A lot of people get the perception that it's going to test and like tell them if there's like hazardous chemicals, pollutants,
metals and things like that.
It's not that type of test. It's for fertility, to tell you, if you're wanting to grow this is how you adjust what amendments to add to your soil to get it where it needs to be. And that's across the board. Certain plants like certain pHs. Garden,
we all do,
grass,
all organisms.
Yeah, and so you've got to match that pH to what you're trying to grow. Like blueberries, I deal with a lot of blueberries. My family's got blueberries, but they like a really acidic soil, like 4.5 to 5.5. Your grasses typically like to be around that 6 to 7 range.
More neutral.
Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff does like to be around that more neutral, but it's where you kind of got to know what it likes and get it fixed. And preferably, if you're going to go in and plant something, you want to have all that right before you go in, because that's going to increase your odds of success. That's the goal here at Extension, is to help you be successful. And that's what we're doing in that hay verification project, is trying to help this guy get to where he wants to be. He wants a little bit more Bermuda grass, wants to improve his yield. And we've just kind of followed along with him throughout the summer. You mentioned the Bermuda stem maggot. We've put up the yellow sticky traps, and we're doing sweep nets, counts, and we've done it every week throughout the summer. That Bermuda stem maggot, you mentioned it was a problem and it kind of surprised you because you hadn't really heard of it.
I've not really heard much about that.
Yeah, a lot of guys,
you hear about army worms.
We worry about army worms.
Bermuda stem maggots.
But if you got Bermuda grass, I think it's a bigger deal is that Bermuda stem maggot. And what it is this little fly. And
these flies.
Yeah, these daggum flies pestering us. This fly lays a little larva and it climbs up into so what it does, this Bermuda stem maggot, it lays its little egg and the larva hatches and gets inside the Bermuda grass and eats out the inside of the center. Well, it kills the top and you can see the damage. It looks like it got hit with a frost or something. You can actually go out there and pluck the Bermuda grass stem and the top will just slide right out, and that's kind of where you can see you've got issues. And a guy a few years ago, he did a demonstration down in South Arkansas, and it's kind of how it got on my radar is they treated half the field for the Bermuda stem maggots and the other half they didn't. Well, I'm pretty sure on the half that they treated, it increased the yield by twice,
double.
What they didn't treat was half of what the yield was on the treated. I was I think that's a bigger deal than, because we're seeing it more up here. We used to do this project, this hay verification in Clinton with a guy in Van Buren County, and we tracked that, and I was well, I don't know how big of an issue it is over in Stone County, but we found them in our hay verification we're doing over at Timbo, and
so that's something you look for.
You gotta
how do you look
scout.
For that,
So
really?
I'd recommend sticking out those yellow sticky traps out there. If you can get access to a sweep net, just go out there and do you a few sweeps and see if you can identify the flies. So how you treat for them? Say you've got them there in a hay situation. You'd go in after you cut within 7 to 10 days and apply a rate of lambda psi. A lot of guys use it to control army worms,
yeah.
But apply that rate and knock out the flies at least, so the population ain't so bad. And I bet we'll start seeing a lot of increases. So
they'll be there year after year, though?
I think, they'll come back year after year if you've got Bermuda grass.
And see, that's what's concerning to me is if you're not aware of it and your yields are going down, and that could potentially be part of your issue.
Farmers, they got a lot of stuff to worry about, and it's they've got to be soil scientists, they got to be plant scientists, they got to be animal scientists, they got to know how to mechanic.
Oh,
hopefully.
Man. Hopefully.
I'm not good.
A welder. You need to be a welder.
Be a welder. You have to have all these skills, and I don't think a lot of people realize what all farmers have to know and what all they have to deal with. And a lot of the money that they're trying to make is based on weather. And
yeah, that's stressful.
It's stressful, and that's what we're hoping to do is help these guys out, help the men and women out that are farming. Our mission, what is it? Strengthen agriculture, families, and communities with research-based information. That's the mission we're trying to do. Well, we're back from a break. You've got laid out here a bear skull. Where'd that come from?
I think it's yours, actually. But the reason we brought it out is because we have this wildlife habitat evaluation program, but lately there's been 2 fatal bear attacks in Arkansas, and there hasn't been a confirmed fatal attack since 1892. So
dang, what's happening?
I don't know, and it's kind of scary. My husband, his internship, he trapped bears for 2 summers in South Arkansas with the game and fish, and I know you went with him.
We
that
went
one
down
time.
there. I'll put up the picture.
Oh goodness, yeah, okay. Anyway, they faked a funny picture, but now that he's not employed with them anymore, it's probably safe to add it. Yeah. But he really made me not as scared of a bear. Yeah, so he had caught a cub one time in a cable snare. So however it cinches up, it doesn't hurt the bear. And he caught a cub, and the mama bear was slapping the trees and chomping her jaws.
Like the one we caught, I think he had to trank it, and then he pulled a tooth, I think, had to age it, and just tracking,
run some different tests. And and then give it a shot to bring it back to reverse the reaction.
It's funny. Like, you have to like scare it off, because you don't want it to think, that's probably the deal. People means food, and so these people were nice to me, so you have to kind of get out of here, bear, get out of here. And like, I remember that bear, he hadn't come fully awake yet, and like his front paw, like his chin's down, and he's just pushing away with his back legs, getting away.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
Well, he said when he caught that cub and the mama bear was nearby that she never came and got him. She was slapping the trees and chomping her jaws, and they got the cub out, and he said he just kind of throw it to her, and they got out of there. But so I've never been scared of a bear, and so I worry that we are going to be, but we've now had a third incident, not a fatality, and so but it made me really think about our WHEP group and the wildlife education that we work with them, and we have this amazing kit that the Stone County Soil Conservation District purchased for us, and
they've been really supportive of us over the years.
There are friends over there at that office, so we hate that they're kind of shut down at the moment, but they'll be back. And so this is your bear skull, but part of our kit this is a front paw of a black bear if you're watching on video, and it's just really amazing to think how big they really are. And then if you want to hold up this other item we have here. So, does a bear poop in the woods? And so we have a scat replica.
Yeah, we have to train these kids, like they have to identify these animals either from their pelt or could be their track or like
their skull,
what they eat. And we had to learn about scat. Like, some is tubular, some is in piles, some are called plops.
Plops. My aunt would call them the piles, but
the
that
piles.
was constipation.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if piles was the accurate term. I know plop was in our manual. We had to teach them, this is a plop. What type of animals produce plops? What do you call the little like deer? What looks like a daggum chocolate raisin.
Well, that one time we were teaching it to our 4-H group is we brought out chocolate-covered raisins and chocolate-covered peanuts. Yeah. And, you really remember if that was a squirrel or a deer because everybody got to eat them. I found some
chocolate-covered raisins in the woods one time, and they were spoiled.
Oh, gosh. Whew. I don't think those were raisins, but...
Yeah, they had, I forget the little pointy tip on a deer pellet. That's, rabbits they're round. Deers, they'll be kind of oval shape and have a little point on them. Look like a chocolate raisin.
Yeah. And that's what we handed them out. But we start meeting with that group usually around the end of January.
And we're pretty good at it.
We are pretty good. We are the reigning junior and senior Arkansas State champions.
We went to Tennessee. That was fun. Yeah.
Didn't y'all get to scuba dive or
they scuba dived? I didn't bring like a swimsuit, but I didn't know that we'd be wearing like a wetsuit and I could have just been naked underneath it. Oh.
I would have hoped you wouldn't have been.
No. So I didn't participate, but it looked like a lot of fun. I was like, dang. I should have done it.
There's some fun activities we've got to do with our 4-Hers, getting to go to different states and experience different things. And we really enjoy it as agents. So I always like getting to go. And we'll go eat somewhere weird and eat something new. And
kids we go with, they like to try weird stuff. And so
we appreciate that.
We're all about it.
We're down. We ate at a K-Pot and just anything like a mom and pop kind of restaurant.
Coming back from Tennessee, the girls wanted to eat at a noodle place just kind of other side of Memphis, and it was good.
I like a good noodle.
It was good. I'd never had it, but I was down. It was good. And
that's fun. We enjoy them, and so we'll start meeting again, and I think sometimes or a lot of times you may not think about wildlife and 4-H, and I've learned so much myself, and we do a lot as agents. I feel like I've learned more from them or our different areas, and I was able to ID that I had a bobcat killing my chickens because we were studying the poop.
Yeah, little tube.
It's twisty. The bobcat looks twisty, and they don't bury it, which is not quite what you think of when you think of a cat. But I
wonder if they wash their hands. But So yeah, we've won livestock skillathon. We've won meats contests. We've won a few of the WHEP junior. We've just won the senior one time, but we've won like 3 times with
three
juniors.
times since I've been here, and I think you may have even won before I showed up with the juniors.
I don't
come close.
I think we got close. Got
close.
third place, but
we usually have a big group of kids, and it's kind of wild and rowdy, but it's fun IDing and learning these different things, and they can use that.
They enjoy it.
And we go over management practices, and that's a little more difficult to learn, but all of this is useful for your whole life.
Something
I really enjoy it.
In 4-H, that's what they say is 4-H is for everyone. Like if you got it, it's not just, you talk to a lot of people and they think, oh, it's showing animals, agriculture, that's all 4-H is, but
that's a wonderful part of it. But
yeah,
that's
it's
not
a part
all.
of it. That's not all. Like STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math.
And there's a public speaking element in almost all of it, so that's super beneficial.
And that's what a lot of our kids like to focus on is preparing themselves for public speaking. We've got some of them kids that won't even talk to you. Like, all right, we're going to do an icebreaker. What's your name? Tell us your name and what's about yourself. And they just can't do it, but
we see them at the judge.
Yeah,
they just do wonderful. So.
Yeah, they're able to do it, and they'll eventually get. Once you get a little older, it's crazy to see them change from couldn't tell us their name to able to give a presentation and talk about their project and what they've learned. So,
which you get them on project work and something they're passionate about, and everybody's a little more willing to open up and talk.
Yeah.
At that point,
I'm trying to be mean to him. Wanted to do, when I was getting into exercising a little bit, I was like, what would be a real fun camp is that we start at the first of the summer, and I just take them through, make them run a mile, make them do as many push-ups, many pull-ups, and then we track that throughout the summer. They work out and see if they can do more at the end. I've wanted to do that, but
it'd be fun. It'd be like a challenge, fun. Like a summer challenge.
And learn about healthy living, you could learn nutrition, physical activity, learn how to do proper the exercises. Form. Yep.
Yeah, you can have fun with that.
You got to have proper form. I busted my shoulder. We used to work out a little bit. And
I have a hiatal hernia now too, so we may
I
too much heavy
my shoulder.
lifting.
So proper technique is.
Yeah, I think I probably got the hernia building the house.
So what did you have to do last night, 4-H? I know you had
orientation. So in 2006, when Brad McGinley was here, he's an agent in Grant County now, he started the youth leadership program here in Stone County, and it has gone through all those years to about 2019, and then the leader kind of wanted a break, and my position was open at the time, and I just started, and so she's like, I need a break. Well, COVID hit, and we all know how that went. And then last year is our first year back, and I've got that going, and I have help from other people in our community. And so last night we had our orientation for our new class. We have 7. And so the way that we do youth leadership here in Stone County, or I have so far, is 8th and 9th graders, anyone in the county, homeschool, public school, and we'll meet once a month throughout the school year and focus on public speaking, social etiquette, social media safety, dining etiquette. We have a team building ropes course, and last year that was really fun to watch kids get into that leadership role of helping others to get their team past that finish line. And then public speaking, and Vanessa came from the state office, and she's always a joy and interesting on public speaking, and really brought several. Yes, she brought several out of their shell during different exercises, and I took notes for some of my presentations too. So I was sitting over there like, oh, that's good to know. I'm gonna write that down. And then we'll do a city and county government activity. We'll do Get Real, Here's the Deal, the financial simulation. We do that at Centennial Bank, and then we get a tour of that bank, and then they pick a volunteering project. And last year they worked in the iris beds. We have an iris festival the first Saturday in May. So if you are interested in iris, come to Stone County first weekend in May, and you will see all kinds of beautiful irises. They're for sale. There's all kinds of fun stuff. They got all sorts
of cultivars.
Yes, and that's...
Would they be cultivars or varieties? So I know the difference. A variety is, a cultivar is a cultivated variety, and typically it's like they've specialized bred it. Typically they're hybrids. But
typically, apparently, Care Navy was telling us that you can create your own and register it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. And they sell all these beautiful different looks. And so they do have some memorial irises down around the courthouse. And some of my family are memorialized there. And it just really beautifies our beautiful courthouse. It's already pretty anyway. And it just adds to the grounds. And so anyway, so that was their project. And then they helped at our community garden.
That's part of being a leader is getting into a leadership role. I'm in that iLead program with it's like the internal UADA leadership program called iLead, and we have to select a project. And you're like, well, why do we have to do a project? I thought we were going to learn about leadership. Well, that's kind of the point is you start a project and get in a leadership role and learn how to be a leader.
Yeah, it's hard to know how to do it until you actually get in there and do it. And of course, 4-H is learned by doing. So youth leadership, it just works perfect with that. And
I think we cover a whole podcast about leadership. Talk about the different types.
There's definitely different types.
I'm going to become an autocrat type leader where I've got to get this office into shape. Got to boss them around.
Well,
you know what
the
autocrat
office is going to lead a coup.
A coup? I'll fight both of you. You and Madison will fight for control of the office. I'm going to be an autocrat. This is my way or the highway.
Yeah.
I want you, when I walk in, I want a cup of coffee on my desk and the newspaper every morning. Got it?
I was thinking of a quote that was fitting what I'd want to say, but I don't think I could say it. You know, you can want in one hand, something like that. Yeah, anyway, that's not happening. No, I think you're too nice to be
too nice, too laid back. I think I gotta.
No, I think you don't micromanage, and I think in our office we do not need to be micromanaged.
No, I can't. I don't want to be micromanaged.
Yeah,
I work better when you tell me what to do, and then you quit watching me.
But you also don't just leave us hanging either, so I appreciate that. I mean,
you're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the bossier person in the office, but...
Well, what was it I told you the other day? Sometimes I just wish I did have somebody tell me what to do.
Yeah, and I've taken that and run with it a little bit.
And I'm like, daggum, I shouldn't have said nothing.
I'm not that bossy, surely.
Nah, it's good.
No.
We're doing this podcast still.
Yeah.
After 2 episodes.
Yeah. This is it. This is the final episode. No, I'm joking.
And that was the end of the Stone County Extension Saves the World podcast.
They got into a fight over who the leader was going to be in the office.
And it was physical fight. And Tyler won from his experience with fighting with that bull that one time. I used my same technique.
What part of me are you going to grab? I don't have horns.
You flip me over your back, and then I somehow grab a hold of you and do like a stone cold stunner.
Yeah, that is not staying in.
It is staying in.
No,
because I think this wraps up the episode.
Wraps up it nicely, leadership styles.
Yeah, I think that should be the next one we talk about.
Leadership, maybe so.
Well, I think we call it good.
Yeah, I think it's good for today.
Yeah. All right. Peace.
And blessings.